Current world order is rigged against Africa. And so if you look at the colonial patterns of trade that were established by our colonial masters, they are the same patterns of trade. Railways lead to only where there are resources, and they lead from there to the ports in order to extract those resources and export them to other destinations. We continue to live as colonial slaves. Let me call it new colonial slaves, because we have a flag and we have independence, but still the system is rigged such that we have to export materials raw to our former colonial masters. They use those resources, to produce manufactured and finished goods, and then determine the prices of those goods and export them back to us.
Representing the continent.
Yeah, and also boosting the garment industry in my country. This is weather friendly for our temperature. It's comfortable, easy to wear. And I only wear suits for some official occasions, but otherwise, every day at work, I feel more comfortable in this attire. Or else, then, for some official appointments, you have to wear our traditional attire.
Your speech at the UN General Assembly was brilliant. The future of the world is Africa. Can you tell us more about that? Because a lot of Africans felt like Nkrumah is back again.
Well, when you speak from the heart, that's how it comes across. And so you need to put your thoughts into your speech and own the speech, and that is what I did. I crafted it. And I meant every word in there. I talked about reparations. I talked about the global system and how it is changing and how it has been unjust to Africans. And in any new global order that succeeds it, there must be justice and equity for Africa, including having an equal say, in international global institutions like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the multilateral financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, and all that. Africa must have a greater say in all these institutions. Aside from that, the current world order is rigged against Africa. And so if you look at the colonial patterns of trade that were established by our colonial masters, they are the same patterns of trade. Railways lead to only where there are resources, and they lead from there to the ports in order to extract those resources and export them to other destinations. We continue to live as colonial slaves. Let me call it new colonial slaves, because we have a flag and we have independence, but still the system is rigged such that we have to export materials raw to our former colonial masters. They use those resources, to produce manufactured and finished goods, and then determine the prices of those goods and export them back to us. But when we export the raw materials, we don't determine the price. We don't determine the price of cocoa. We don't determine the price of gold. Cocoa doesn't grow in Europe, and yet Europe determines how much cocoa should be purchased for. And so these are all the kinds of things that we need to look at.
Does it mean that we are not fully independent, like what you're just saying?
Yeah, Nkrumah said it. After we gained independence, he said we're moving from the era of colonialism to the era of new colonialism. It will take time to reform the system. For instance, we've passed the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Yeah.
But even though we can export duty-free, tariff-free into each other's markets, where are the railways to move those goods? Where are the ports to move those goods? Where are the roads to move those goods? If you have to move goods from Ghana to another African country, you probably must have to transship it through Europe or some other destination before it gets there. So until we're able to establish the infrastructure to be able to exchange people and goods between ourselves, we cannot fully utilize the potential that the African Continental Free Trade Area gives us. And that is part of the new colonialism that I talk about.
I'm hoping that one day Africa will be borderless, and I think it has to start from Ghana, because this is a campaign that I've been on for quite some time now. I'm hoping that one day
West Africa has been borderless for a long time. we signed the Protocol on Free Movement of People decades ago. And so West Africans are able to move to each other's countries 90-day visa-free. Yeah. And I don't see what the big deal in extending it to the rest of Africa is. And that's why I was one of the first presidents when I came back from the AU conference in Kigali, and we're not able to move the free movement of people. I came and passed, the regulation that allowed any African passport holder to be able to receive visa on arrival when they come to our airport. And it didn't bring the sky down. There was not an immediate movement of people from all over Africa coming to crowd into our country. But it made it easier for business people, for other Africans who want to come as tourists to our country to be able to do so.
Welcome to China. Did we say Zhongguo? Why in like that, Zhongguo?
Mr. President.
Yeah.
I wish I could speak it as well as you.
Zhongguo. Zhongguo, China.
Zhongguo.
Yeah, Zhongguo. Yeah. Why in like that, Zhongguo?
Why in like that, Zhongguo?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You tend to be coming to Africa, Asia, China, and the likes.
Okay.
Take it from there.
Yeah, I want to know why China this time around. Yeah.
I was honored to be invited by President Xi Jinping as the only African president to be invited to the Global Leaders Conference on Women. There was also the Prime Minister from Mozambique. Yeah, but at the level of president, I was the one who was selected to come, and that was an honor for me. But it also gave us the opportunity to thank China for the role they played in Ghana's debt restructuring. China is a co-chairman of our bilateral creditor committee, and I know the role that China played to get us a negotiated deal in the G20 debt treatment framework, especially in the negotiations with the bilateral creditors. And so it gave us an opportunity to express our appreciation to him. Indeed, Ghana got its approval in record time, the fastest that has ever happened. And so it opens the way for other countries that are debt distressed to have the same. And so I had the opportunity to say thank you to President Xi, but also to discuss important issues of interest in the relations between us in terms of pivoting into a new era of trade and investment that is discussing China's policy of 0% tariffs for all African countries. And so we had the opportunity to negotiate that. We agreed in principle. We've not signed off yet, but we've agreed on a target date where we'll complete the negotiation and sign off. So it will mean that Ghana can export duty-free into the Chinese market. But one of the things we need to do, which is important, is not that it's not just enough to export, to have zero tariff exporting into the Chinese market if we do not harmonize our standards, because China has quite some stringent standards, and so we need to harmonize the standards between the Chinese Standards Authority and our Ghana Standards Authority, so that if we get approval from any of the two standards authority, we know that the product is of the quality that can be exported to Ghana or exported to China. And so that will be the next stage after we sign off on the zero tariff.